Welcome to the edition of Let's Play Farming Simulator 2013 on the Glenmalure farm. Alright, we got a couple things going on today. First of all, we need to deal with this straw, and second of all, we need to deal with this barley. So let me show you where this actually is. I did a little trip after the episode, after I recorded the last episode, in order to find out where exactly this is. Let me just show you on the map where it is. That's where JF's pub is, right there, and our farm is right here. So just to give you an idea of how far it actually is from our main farm, it's pretty darn far, but that's besides the point. Alright, let's fire this guy up here. There we go. Let's see how much money we get. So we got 18,471 liters of barley. And we have currently $3,963. Let's see how much money we get from this. So remember, our barley is going to get us $367 a ton. Let's see what we get. 390. Most we're at 5, 6, 7, 8. Ooh, that's not too bad at all. 10 grand for that. It's not too bad. Anyway, so we just got back to our farm here. This actually takes a little bit of time to do this. It took me a little bit longer, and I used a little bit more fuel up than I actually anticipated. Because, man, this tractor eats through fuel. So I need to find a bit more of a economical solution rather than driving this all over the place, because I don't think this is going to be the best option all of the time. But it'll definitely work for the time being, mind you. I know some people have said that in Ireland or in the UK you would see stuff like this. You'd see a tractor driving around town and whatnot, so I don't feel too bad doing it, but it definitely seems a bit strange for me, because where I'm from, you would see semis pulling stuff around. You wouldn't see a truck and tractor going through town as often, let's say. It does happen in certain areas, but not nearly as often, so yeah, that's why I guess I'm slightly reluctant to do it this way, but it does work. Now, I was given a suggestion by GTM559. He said that I should check out a specific mod. It's very similar to the gas mod, the truck that's, I don't know what you call it. It's the truck that has different attachments. The one we have right now, our fuel truck. And it's very similar, except it's like the same idea, except it's by the same mod author even, but the difference is that it is for like a semi-truck sort of thing. And it's a small semi-truck, which is kind of cool. And it's an old school semi-truck, which is also cool. So I think we might head towards that, because we're going to need to sell our pigs at some point. And that's one of the ways we could potentially do it. So that's what we're kind of, heading towards in that regards, at least. So that's what we're going to do. Let me just show you what it looks like. It is not a placeable mod. Not a tractor either, Ian. It's in miscellaneous, if memory serves. This thing right here. It's actually only $4,000. That's a bit cheap. But it's a really old truck. So this is another Russian truck, I believe. Gasoline engine, 6-cylinder, only 100 horsepower. Maximum speed is 70 clicks. And tractor produce, Mitzi machine works based in Zil, respectively. Doesn't say anything about the actual item itself. So it's really cheap to buy. So it's very similar to the gas truck in the sense it's really cheap. But it's an older vehicle. We are in 2014. And if I were to buy a vehicle like that, it probably would be super cheap. I would think, at least. So I don't have too much problem. I don't have a big problem with buying something that cheap, basically, is what it boils down to. In that scenario. Like if I were buying a brand new tractor for like 2010, and it only costs $4,000, then I'd be a little bit more concerned. But because that truck is an older truck, it's not so bad. So I could buy it right now, actually, but for now we're going to wait on that. Alright, so I need to turn... It's left, I believe. Yes. Let's go back to our farm here. Yeah. Had to double check there for a second just to make sure we were going the right way. So we're going to head back to our farm. We're going to deal with the straw that we have there. Now, we do have a couple options in terms of the straw. We could go the baling route, or we could go the forage wagon route. I've done a lot of the forage wagon route, and we also are doing that on our other series as well, on the OGF Bayer map, so I don't want to do too much of the same thing. So in light of that, I think I'm going to do some baling. Some people were suggesting that I get into a bit more baling this time around, and I agree. I think I've gone too far. Have I gone too far? Yes. That's what happens when you get talking, I guess. Jeez. Alright. We'll turn around the field. No one will notice. Oh, that's kind of cool. They have a little connector between the two fields. What if we can get back to our farm this way? Oh, it looks like you actually can. Probably shouldn't drive on the field. Let's try and stay off the field. How about that? It looks like we totally can. That's cool. Okay, that's not so bad then. We did pass the route I was going to take, but this does allow us to get back to the farm regardless. Just in a much different way than I had originally anticipated. So I don't know if you've been noticing, but my fuel level has been going down quite quickly. So we started off with like 76 liters of fuel, and now we have 41, so that just gives you an idea of how much fuel this thing eats through, and why it's not really the most efficient way to transport things, which is why I'm leaning towards getting that truck there. Alright, so let's just put this trailer away because we don't need it for the time being. We do have silage there we need to deal with as well. But we don't have any vehicles that can actually do anything with the silage, so we need to think about that as well. There we go. Perfect. Alright, so let's just turn this off because this tractor seems louder for whatever reason to me. So we have a couple options available. So let's take a look at the option number 1. Now we could go with this small far baler. Not happening. I don't like it. That's what it boils down to. We have the John Deere 86.4 Premium, which is a really nice baler. Or we have the McHale 550 round baler. This is for 4-foot round bales. And this baler up here, the John Deere 86.4, is a bigger baler as well and fancier. But the other problem we run into is we need to be able to transport the bales. Now I did add this mod. This is a mod recently added. It wasn't recently, but it was added a while ago. It's the Ursus T665 bale trailer. Now that's a bit expensive actually. In comparison to, I don't know. Well, actually, those are kind of expensive too. I guess what I'm thinking of is in comparison to the NI modding trailer, which is this one right here for round bales. Now we can actually make it so the John Deere baler can do small bales, so it's not a huge problem, and we should be able to get them to fit in that trailer as well. But we can't actually lift them up with anything at the moment, so it's not very helpful. Now that does lead us to our next problem, which is a front loader. Now normally I would go for the Bobcat, and that is definitely an option still because it's a relatively cheap option in comparison to some other things. Now we could replace one of our tractors with not with the Bobcat, but with a front loader tractor instead. That's a possibility as well. I don't have the trailer attached, so the conveyor belt is always going to be my main choice for moving silage, just because I don't want to sit there and move 100 buckets worth of silage, and I don't think you want to see that either. So in light of that, I think we'll go for the conveyor belt once again. But the problem is, as I mentioned, we don't have a front loader to use it with yet. So we could get the Bobcat, which would allow us to move the straw bales, and it would also allow us to get the conveyor belt eventually to give our pigs some silage and some straw. That's an option. Now the other funny thing is, if we do bale our straw, we will have to make it back into unbaled straw in order to give it to our pigs, which is kind of annoying. So let's take a look at the second option, which is not a forage harvester, which is a forage wagon, which is right here. This isn't, we're not too far off from something like this or this maybe. But the problem with this is I've done this many times as well, so it's kind of like, well, trailer for bales. Yeah, these are all the trailers are really cheap, but they're like old school trailers, so I don't know. So we could get this for bales, but that means we would have to get the truck as well. And I don't think this automatically loads bales. I don't think. And that's for timber, and we don't have any timber, so not very helpful. So that's kind of like the predicament we are in right now. Now I could, and this was given a suggestion, is turn this silage, or turn this straw into chaff and make silage out of it. That's definitely a possibility, but we do have a bit of silage already cooked up. The problem we have is we can't move it yet. So that is something to consider as well. I think what we're going to do is we're going to do this. We're going to keep this tractor. How much is that worth? Because we honestly... but we need something to move this trailer with. And this won't do it. Apparently it will attach to things, I've been told by a few people, but I have never gotten to attach. So that's why we're keeping this around. And we could actually use this to transport some of our goods around too, because it does have a holding capability. And actually, in reality, this truck actually has more horsepower, or equal horsepower to this tractor. So I don't know. Would this truck be able to pull that trailer? I don't know. I think so, because this particular truck is made for agricultural related stuff. So maybe it would be able to, maybe not. It's a tough choice. So, what to do with a straw? We actually don't have enough money, so we're gonna have to borrow some money in order to do it. So this option will allow us to use it right away, which is always the problem. And we can use this for grass as well. But we have done that. So what other options do we have available to us? Not many, actually. Baling would be the other option we haven't explored much. So that is the area I'm kind of leaning towards. I don't want to get these because they're just silly. Yeah, let's just get the John Deere 864 Premium. It's a good baler. I like it. But we do need to borrow some money first. So let's borrow a little bit of money in order to pay for this. What are we at? 10,000. 15. So 35,000 should be enough in order to buy this. Let's go ahead and do that now. Boink. I love this baler. Honestly, that's one of the reasons why I was like, you know what? Let's go ahead and get this trailer. And where are we here? My cursor decided to run away from me. We could use the Ursus at 150 horsepower, or this at 112 horsepower. Let's use this. How much this horsepower does this have again? Let me just double check. I try to be realistic, so I always try and keep that like the horsepower, 113 horsepower. Actually, we could probably sell this tractor and get more than 14,000, and then we could get a front loader from that. Interesting. That's a possibility as well. But our front loader would be like half the power. That's the problem. This should be able to handle the baler. I just like the way this one sounds better, personally. It's got a more of a rumble. The Ursus has a bit more of a higher pitch sound, and I just don't like talking over it, which I discovered as well, strangely enough. I don't know. What do you guys think? Is that too big for that tractor? So this is, I actually looked online to see how much horsepower they said that you needed for this, and they said it was about 100 horsepower, and this tractor technically has 100 horsepower, but it definitely looks, it just looks a bit strange. I think because it's open cab, that's why it looks a bit strange. So anyways, let's raise the support here, like so. Excellent. Let's attach the PTO. Alright, so this is what I'll do. This time around, I will use it with the farm-mow. Let me know if you think this tractor cannot handle this baler. I think it should be able to. Based on the statistics, it should be able to. But this tractor does look a wee bit small with this particular baler. But it doesn't. I don't think it even says how much horsepower it needs. Let's just see. Does it say? No, it does not say. All right, so we actually need to make the bales a. Do we need to make them smaller? I think we're okay. I think we're okay. So let's go ahead and do a little bit of baling. Now the next problem we have is that now we have to deal with these bales somehow. Oops, helps if you lower the pickup, Iain. Can we go any faster than 2? I actually tried with the John Deere 2410. That's a little too quick. I actually tried with 2410 John Deere baler, or the 24T John Deere baler, the old school one. But the problem I found was the fact that the pickup was just tiny, and it would have been just painful to do. At least this way we can you know, adjust the size of the bales if we need to. So if this is too big, then we can totally make it smaller if we need to. So as I mentioned, this does bring up a different problem, and that problem is, you know, how are we going to move these bales? I'll let you think about that for a bit, as to how we're going to. I really should have done the headlands first. Whoops. Let's just back this up a little bit. Out of the way. There we go. We'll unload the bale here. Hopefully it doesn't roll downhill. There we go. Perfect. Yeah, I don't know why I decided to do the headlands first. So in light of that, I think I'm gonna. Well, I'm almost done anyways. Doesn't make a difference. We won't get another bale off of this. Anyway, so yeah, I'll let you guys think about that for a moment as to how I'm gonna move the bales. Let me just. I'm not gonna buy the Bobcat. I'll give that as a hint. I'm not gonna buy the Bobcat. I will eventually, I'm sure, just because I need to be able to use my conveyor belt. That's just my thing. Love that thing. Just because that's the way I roll. And if I couldn't use my conveyor belt, then I would probably be a little sad, because that thing makes life so much easier. Now, the other nice thing about this, particular baler is it does have this sensor as well. There you go. It does have the sensor as well. It has this right up here, so that says how much material we're putting into the baler, basically. So if we want to put in less material, we can. If we want to put more material, we can as well. Now the cool part about this is I haven't managed to bump it up yet, but apparently if you go fast enough, this meter will go into the red, and you'll have to get and like fix it. And I know, I'm not sure I want to test it because I don't have very much money, but maybe I'll test it later on. But apparently it does happen, so. I do like the look of this tractor. This tractor does look a little funny with this baler, but for now, I'm just going to leave it, because I think this tractor is cooler to drop. That's what it really boils down to. I prefer to drive this tractor over the other one. So now eventually we could automate this too with courseplay, but for now we only have one field, so we might as well do the work on the one field. Now this will also allow us to use the hay, so we can make hay bales if we need to as well. But like I said, I think we're gonna do this. This is different. We haven't done too much baling, to be honest with you. I don't enjoy baling a crazy amount, but with this particular bear, I actually enjoy it just because it's so detailed. It looks so awesome. That's what it really boils down to. This baler, they did such a great job on this baler. I commend those people who used it, or who made it, because it is a nice looking baler. What else have we done? Does it say? Where is it? No bale counter. R. There we go. So we've done 3 bales so far. 3 bales of 4,000, I think it is. So we're gonna get not too many bales, which is good because 1, 2, 3 bales. So it's gonna be good for us because we don't want to get 2 bales because we don't have a big space to put them yet. So we're gonna need to take that into consideration as well. We don't want to, overload our storage facility. Now, on this particular farm, we do have the ability to store straw, not as a bale form, but as just a regular way of storing it, I guess. I don't know what you'd call it. In a loose form. There we go. That works. So we can store it in a loose form, but this was a bit different. I haven't done much baling in a while, so I figured, hey, you know what, let's do a little bit of baling. And as I mentioned, this baler is pretty darn cool. So now we're gonna have to move the bales, and I mentioned this already a couple of times, but it's weighing on my mind because I don't want to move too many bales, and we're at 4 already. So I think we'll be okay in terms of moving them. Because we don't want to spend a crazy amount of time moving the bales. That is something else to consider, because it does take, the more bales you have, the more time it takes, right? So now these are big bales too. Now I wonder, I guess we're gonna find out. We may have to borrow some more money. How much money did we borrow? You can still borrow 25,000, so it's not too bad, I guess. That would allow us to get a bobcat should we need to. But it also would allow us to load up silage and sell silage as well. That's another thing, right? So let's get this over here. I wish the dials on this tractor moved. The ones in the Ursus do move, which is one of the cool things about that one. But it's a fuel hog as well. And if this trailer, or this baler I should say, only needs 100 horsepower, then this tractor is sufficient. Because this tractor's got 113. I don't know why it keeps doing that little jump. That's weird. I don't know if you noticed this, but this gauge actually works. Let me just line up here again. If you can see it. So it's slowly going up. I think that's so cool. I've noticed that more and more. Like the Zune hammer has the same thing on it. When you fill it up with liquid manure, it does fill up in the same way like that as well. And there is a little meter you can use, which I think is pretty darn cool, actually. I can't say I've ever round baled before. Round baling is a bit more I don't know if it's more difficult, but it's a bit trickier, I guess, than the square baling, because you gotta, stop the tractor and, back it up slightly. Usually you back it up just to keep it out of the way. That's what it really boils down to. And sometimes the reason why you'd back it up probably is because you don't want it to roll a certain way as well. So that's another thing to consider. But also you want to make sure you get all the rest of the material there. So when I back up a little bit, it helps me to pick up the rest of it there. I have square baled before, and I was really bad at it. It was fun to do though, and I think I have a picture of me somewhere, square milling, but it was difficult with the tractor I used because the tractor, the steering was a bit off on it, and I don't drive enough tractors just to be able to pick up any tractor and be like, oh yeah, that's not a problem. In this situation, it wasn't too bad, but what actually ended up happening in that scenario, I did like the I think I did the headland, I think is what I did. I baled the headland, and my father-in-law was directing me is what it boiled down to, because I'm still learning about lots of these things when it comes to farming, so he was directing me as to where to go. He was trying to the funny thing was he was like, focus on where you're picking up the material, not where you're going, basically. So it was kind of like, don't look straight ahead.